the attention are going to come right here on the NBA tonight, starting with our triple header here on That Betting Show. The Sixers look to close the door on the Nets. Jared Dudley welcomed into the Wells Fargo Center tonight. Game's going to tip off at 8 o'clock live, as we said, from the Wells Fargo Center in Philadelphia. Nets, 46-40 against the number in all line games this year, 30-28 against the number as a dog, and 21-16 against the number as a road dog. Sixers, Teddy, 41-45 against the number on the season, 30-32 as a favorite, and only 21-20 against the number at home. It's closeout night in Philly. Do they get it done, Teddy?
Well, I mean, that's an excellent question because, look, a lot of times in these closeout games, what did we say earlier in the show? When a team is done, they're done. Are the Nets done? Because the Nets have shown a lot of fight in this series, and I haven't seen necessarily Philly got the job done in Game 4. Do they have the mentality to close out Game 5 and win by margin in that contest? Look, there's a lot of problems for the Nets. You know, the Nets just can't match up very well, either in the backcourt or the frontcourt. Ben Simmons has owned Brooklyn in this series. Embiid has done whatever he's wanted to when healthy in the game. You know, Jared Allen's not stopping anybody. D'Angelo Russell's under 40% shooting for the series. Joe Harris, just 3 of 16 from beyond the arc in the series, and he's a guy who led the NBA in three-point shooting percentage during the regular season. Brooklyn not likely to have Ed Davis tonight. He hasn't played much in the series. He's the one guy who was impactful in Game 1, and he's the one guy who, you know, not the one guy, but he gives them added depth in the front court where they've been getting crushed on the boards. The Davis injury matters for Brooklyn. So all these pointers point towards Philly. I don't know how mature this Sixers team is. You know, we saw some of that from Houston last night where, no, we're not ready to, you know, and winning by margin against a Nets squad that they've shown a lot of fight. Spencer Dinwiddie, you know, quote, for a lot of us, this is our first time playing big minutes in the playoffs. We're right there in Game 4. We feel like we should have won. We weren't saying this is with a learning experience when we won Game 1, so we can't fall on that now. We need to try to pull off something incredible. The Nets have been in these games, you know, and Game 2 got away in the second half. Game 3 got away in the third quarter. Game 4, they led by 7 with 5 minutes left and let that one get away. Those are a concern, certainly. Philly is the better of these two teams. And I'm not involved in the game tonight. Not side, not total. But frankly, I'm not even that close. I don't know if the Nets are capable of hanging tough for 4 quarters. I think they'll be in the game for a while. I worry about Brooklyn's to hang once Philly makes their run. When a team is done, they're done. And we may see some of that from the Nets tonight.
Not a lot of playoff experience from the core guys. I mean, Jimmy Butler, you know, is taken set aside. But if you're looking at, you know, Joel Embiid and also Ben Simmons, Teddy, when you're looking at this game and just from a perspective in Philadelphia, everybody's already anticipating, I can't wait to play the Toronto Raptors. You hear Joel Embiid in his, you know, coming out of a van, eating Shake Shack, having a couple burgers, saying the series is over. Do you think that, you know, turns over what this team is expecting, the crowd is expecting, the city's just expecting, it's going to be like a coronation tonight, let's move on to the second round? Do you think they'll be able to handle that? Or how would you approach that from a gambling perspective, saying, you know what, these guys better close it out on the court because they're talking a big game right now?
It has everything to do with the Nets' perimeter shooting. You know, if Dinwiddie's hitting shots. You know, Karis LeVert, 51 points the last 2 games, and the Nets still haven't covered either one of those contests, but the point spread different tonight. Obviously, they lose by the margin they did in Game 4. They'll cover the number here. But, you know, for the Nets, they need Russell, Dinwiddie, LeVert, Harris. All these guys have to hit shots from downtown. And if they do, they can hang in this game. They can win the game. You know, if they have multiple guys draining threes, that's the Nets game. Philly's done a nice job of closing out on those threes the last couple of contests. And defensively, the Nets have had no answers for anything Philadelphia's done in this series. That definitely concerns me here in a Game 5 setting, in a closeout setting. Again, I'm not playing the game, but the more I think about it, maybe I would get on Philly before I took Brooklyn, because I worry about that one big run taking the Nets out of the game, whether that run comes, you know, anytime after halftime. If Philly goes big, it might be ball game.
There you go, Teddy. I like the way you're thinking there with the Sixers. Take a look at the game tied at 2. No closeout tonight, Teddy. No closeout between the Spurs and the Nuggets as each one of these teams tries to gain the upper hand and take a 3-2 series lead. Nuggets favored by 5.5, total of 211. Moneyline split plus 195, minus 235. 9:30 tonight live from the Pepsi Center. We take a look at the Spurs, 45-39 on the season against the number. 19-14, Teddy, against the number as a dog, and 20-21 against the spread on the road this year. If we flip it over to the Nuggets, 44-42 against the spread on the season, 24-16 against the spread as a home team this year, and 26-17 at home this year overall. I don't know why that just came up on the screen there, but case in point, Teddy, Denver, pretty good home team cashing those tickets.
Yeah. I mean, look, coming into this series, there was a lot of concern. There were two mainstream narratives for this series. One was San Antonio is a bad road team. The other is Denver never wins in San Antonio. So the Spurs have certainly not been a bad road team. They won game one. They held a 19-point lead in game two before Jamal Murray went nuts and beat them. Not going to say single-handedly, but beat them. But they played fairly well both games in Denver. Of course, the Nuggets, who couldn't win, they can't win in San Antonio. They haven't won there in 5 years. They won there in game four, and they won there fairly resoundingly. It's twice now in the last 3 games that in the second half of these contests, the Denver Nuggets have absolutely taken it to San Antonio on the defensive end of the court. That's a big concern, obviously, for Popovich. We love Popovich. He's a guy who can make adjustments from one game in the series to the next. But we've seen it now twice in 3 games where San Antonio, when they need buckets during crunch time, they haven't been able to get them. We saw, obviously, a adjustment to the starting lineup from Denver with Torrey Craig moving in the lineup, replacing Will Barton. The thought process, Craig, a superior defender, can hang with DeRozan, and Harris can hang with Derek White. And that's the 2 best perimeter defenders for Denver on the floor at the same time from the get-go. Certainly has worked fairly well thus far. But, all that being said, this has been the only true zigzag series so far where, every game's been zigzag. And the zig points here towards the Spurs plus the points. As I said, they've already hung in Denver twice with a straight-up win. I am very worried that the adjustments Mike Malone made are going to send San Antonio home. So while the zigzag said takes the Spurs, not with my money.
Referendum night today on Russell Westbrook as he heads to Portland to try to stave off elimination, go home early once again. If you're not checking out SBRodds.com, you're not doing it right. Teddy, within the last 2 hours, we've moved from a 3 for the favorite of the Portland Trailblazers up to a 4 now. Over under in that game, 221. Moneyline split plus 135, minus 155. 10:30 late night action tonight. Thunder 43-43 against the number on the season. 12-8 against the spread as a dog, and 10-8 against the spread as a road dog. Blazers 48-38 against the number at home this year. Teddy 32-20 against the spread as a favorite, and 26-17 against the number at home. Is he going home, Teddy? And will he give an angry press conference if he does?
Next question.
Yeah.
Yes, that was a joke. I like the Russell Westbrook jokes. But by the way, we are seeing the first 4.5 just popping up right now as we record. There is clearly a lot of market support for Portland today, and it's not just public money, which is wise guy money as well. This game's been about this series has been about Portland's defense, which coming into the series, what was the mainstream narrative? The mainstream narrative is the Blazers defense stinks. They lost their center. Enes Kanter's going to get lit up, and OKC's going to do whatever they want in the paint. Well, OKC's been held to less than 100 points in all 3 losses. They shot 37% from the floor on Sunday. Russell Westbrook has been struggling in the postseason for the 3rd straight year. This is a Thunder team that has a recent history of early exits. Billy Donovan, quote, "We're down 3-1. All we can do now is watch the video, try to make some corrections and adjustment, and get ready for game 5. That's really all we can do." That's not the quote I want. Terry Stotts, on the other hand, talking about the defensive effort in game 4 to get the road win. Quote, "We need one more game like that." Not done yet. And of course, plenty of chirping and nonsense between these 2 squads. But, you could look at the series and nothing more than shooting percentages. And really, nothing more than shooting percentages from 3-point range. OKC, 30% from beyond the arc. Portland, 41% from beyond the arc. And that's been the difference in this series. The quotes from the Blazers I like. Damian Lillard. "We're not going to go crazy on the referees, get into shouting matches with the Thunder. We're going to focus on the things we need to do to win the game." Talking about the distraction from game 4, I was proud our team stuck with that. Total bettors, note this quote from Paul George. "What's the solution for OKC in game 5? Quote, Paul George, "Score more points." Honestly, that's what we have to do. So if you like the Thunder tonight, there may be some correlation with the over. And even if you don't like the Thunder, there may be some correlation with the over in this one. I wouldn't be surprised if these 2 offenses are rolling all night long in this one. turns out to be a very entertaining nightcap.